I always wanted a pinball machine. Actually, come to think of it, I have owned a real pinball machine, sort of. It was the Fisher-Price Triple Arcade.
You gotta check this out!
Introducing... Whoa! The Fisher-Price Triple Arcade. It's fast-action pinball.
This is cool! Just wait!
And it was probably the most extravagant thing I ever owned as a kid. Granted, they were a few years old by that point, and I'm pretty sure mine was purchased on clearance. But man, I played that thing a lot. And alas, that thing is long gone. Part of me would kind of like to try and get my hands on one of those now, but yeah, I don't know where I would put it, and I don't think it would be quite worth it. But anyway, I suppose I should give my usual intro and stuff here, so give me a second. And welcome to a special 60 frames per second edition of Ben's Junk. 60 frames per second for maximum enjoyment of my junk. And yes, there's going to be a lot of really bad jokes in this one. So anyway, before I explain why this one is going to be in 60-ish frames per second, I suppose I should introduce this a little. So very recently, just in the last 2 or 3 weeks here, I covered the only other so-called Pong console that I own. And of course, Pong console being kind of a catch-all term for these early video game deals where the games are all built into the machine and there's no cartridges and stuff. But anyway, yeah, this is the second one that I own. And this is it's really the Atari Video Pinball from 1977, C380, something to that effect. But if you know your history of Atari stuff from their heyday that was sold at Sears all got rebadged as Sears Tele-Games. But it is still an actual Atari piece of equipment. It is one and the same. They just slapped a new name on it. That's all. So anyway, 1977. This puts us still very much in the wood grain era of video games, and I got no problem with that. But anyway, what drew me to this thing was, well, for one, the goofy title for this Sears variant, Pinball Breakaway. It doesn't mean anything. We just took two of the names of the games on here and just, yeah, that's going to be our title. But what really interested me was that it seems to operate on flipper-styled controls, like on a real pinball machine. So, yeah, I took the plunge on this one, and these things really aren't all that valuable. I think you should be able to pick one of these up for $50 or so once you factor in shipping off of Fleabay, a working unit, that is. But I was actually very pleasantly surprised with this thing. This adheres quite well to the mechanics of a pinball machine, as well as you could hope for a 1977 video game. I mean, you can't pick this thing up and tilt it and try and, cheat and stuff. Actually, they did try and build in a anti-cheating thing into the flippers, which you'll see in the demo segment. But yeah, I think this is kind of the pinnacle of Pong consoles. And it would make sense because I think this was the last before the Atari 2600 dropped later in 1977. But yeah, this thing is not clunky. I found myself really enjoying it, and I think this is aged shockingly well. So anyway, let me jump back to the whole 60 frames a second thing here for a moment. So just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I did my other Pong console, so hence me just trying to finish up this whole concept. And that was the APF TV Fun Sportsorama edition from 1976. And if you saw that one, if you're one of the 12 people that saw that one, you know that I had a little bit of a problem with the direct feed footage on that thing. So in short, my balls kept disappearing, and I hate it when my balls disappear. But yeah, what happened was I would try and demo something, and the ball in a game of Pong, for example, tennis, excuse me, they couldn't say Pong, it would disappear So I was playing Ghost Pong, Ghost Tennis, as it were, or Ghost Hockey, or Ghost Handball. And in my mind, that seemed kind of strange because to me, in my mind, this should be so technically undemanding that this could be skip field. This could be 15 frames a second here in North America and not lose anything. But no, it kind of uses the full potential 60-ish frames per second that an old CRT TV does here in North America. So yeah, we're going to bump this up to 60, even though it means some extra editing headaches for me. But yeah, we'll try and do this one right. So anyway, let's try and run down what's going on here. Of course, I've already mentioned the flipper controls. But also, you do have, in addition to pinball, you've also got pin paddle, which is just pinball, but instead of the flippers, it's a single Pong-styled paddle. So you use the Atari paddle control potentiometer for pin paddle. Otherwise, you got basketball, which is really never fun on Atari. It's more frustrating than anything else. Breakaway, and my personal favorite, Breakout. But of course, these last three running on the good old potentiometer here. So otherwise, this operates like the subsequent 2600, just instead of the metal poles that you pull down, it's buttons here. So, power on, and then if you want to actually play, you have to hit the reset button. I think a lot of younger people might not understand that part, but if you're old enough, you get it all too well. Otherwise, you have the control to select between the 7 games, select option within each game for difficulty level, and then the serve button, or the plunger thing for the pinball games, if you want to look at it that way. Alas, they didn't try and build in some sort of, some sort of contact thing for the pinball games, but I guess that wouldn't have made any sense. But anyway, there isn't much to discuss with these things just looking at them, but we'll just take a quick run through it. Of course, this being 1977, it's still that phono-styled connector, and of course we have these lovely little adapters these days, so I don't have to do the switch box and the slider and the devil's pitchforks and whatever other crap. So otherwise, I've never understood this with these old Pong consoles. Most of them can run on batteries, but it takes, 6 C cells or 8 D cells or whatever. I think this is, if memory serves, 6 C cells. And in my mind, you would burn through them so quickly, it would be far cheaper in the long haul, very quickly, to just get an AC adapter. But whoever owned this before me either never had it or lost it. And so I had to look for an equivalent. I could not find any original ones. And this was disappointing. So I knew I was going to get a cheap Chinese thing here. But I was hoping that the connector would be not just an adapter. So it's the normal barrel-styled end on this with a connector. And yes, that is just a regular 1/8" tip sleeve connector. So like for a mono audio patch cable, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a little unique on that front. And indeed, if we look at the back here, it's the one and only other thing on here. Of course, the main TV wire is hardwired on. There's the bottom battery compartment, and yes, I am missing one of the rubber feet, but it's not that big a priority, especially since this is kind of designed to sit in your lap as you're playing it, or you just, actually holding onto the machine as you're playing it instead of some sort of wired controller. But otherwise, that is kind of it as far as basic discussions. So yeah, let me set up my downright unholy half playing, half transfer rig, and we'll do that demo thing and we'll call it a day. All right, I got everything hooked up here, and in all reality, there are only 4 games on this thing, but we'll go through each variant. I won't make you sit through difficulty levels and stuff or anything like that. But anyway, let's start with the basic pinball here. So to get things ready, you hit the reset button, and I'll just show the flippers there. Now, they gave you a bit of a way to not cheat. So if I try and hold down the flipper, it retracts anyway. So you can't just sit there and block the exit, as it were, and just always keep the ball in play, which is always a good thing. So anyway, let me hit the serve button here. Now, according to the unit itself, if you were paying attention during my little discussion earlier, you have to hit at least 25,000 points before Sears thinks that you're not a total moron with this sort of thing. I am not expecting to hit 25,000 points with this at all. But having said that, I do like this. This is real good responsive controls. Certainly for 1977, it hits the mechanics as well as one possibly could of an actual pinball machine via a video game. So, the designers, I think, kind of knew what they were doing here. I won't make you sit through this whole game, but I suppose I will see if I can hit 25,000. I'm halfway there already. We'll see what happens. All right, this is my last ball. Let's see if I'm a loser in the eyes of Sears. Yep, I made it. I passed muster with Sears. Does that really mean anything in the 21st century? Hey, I made it past some sort of level there. But now I feel like I got to start all over again. Well, I didn't do too horribly. I made it up to 41,200. Now, granted, I would have to hit 75,000 before Sears considers me anything more than a novice, but oh well. Anyway, let's jump to pinball number 2 here. Just a different design. We'll just go ahead and get this one started. Obviously, I will not make you sit through a whole round of this. But we'll see just how far I can get. So if I have something cute to say, I'll leave it in. Otherwise, we'll just jump ahead to the end. Well, in the eyes of Sears, I am now an expert. If I can hit 100,000, I'm an ace. But I'd say the odds are pretty low of that. All right, one ball to go. Can I hit 100,000? I'm not feeling that optimistic, but we'll find out. Oh, I made it. I'm an ace in the eyes of Sears. I've made it in this world. I don't know, should I just give up? I mean, I've hit the peak. There's nowhere else to go from here. I don't think there's winning a game as far as this is concerned. It's not like playing Breakout. Okay, well, doesn't matter. Sears officially respects me now. At least the rotting corpse of Sears. Anyway, let's jump to Pin Paddle, which is just pinball again, just played with the potentiometer, the paddle control. Just like that. Now, this is a lot more challenging to me. I could lose this one real nice and easy. Yeah, well, I'm a loser in the eyes of Sears again. All right, we'll just take a quick little spin through Pinball 2, if I can get back to it. Or Pin Paddle 2, rather. Again, it's the same design as Pinball number 2. You're just using the paddle controller, as Atari used to call it. Yeah, I won't go any farther than that. All right, let's move on to the game that I really hate on this, basketball. So it took me, admittedly, a little while to figure this out, but I'll hit the serve button. So I can kind of dribble a bit here, but if I want to shoot, I have to hit the serve button again. And whoever owned this before me apparently really liked this game, or maybe they didn't, they just rage quitted or something. That's a word now, rage quit. But to shoot, you hit the serve button. I will attempt to do that. Of course, your timing has to be pretty good too, but yeah, where it had that real high jump. Now, if I can't, I accidentally hit the reset button. If I can't quite score a basket here, I do have some B-roll footage where I score a couple, because it felt more like luck than anything else. There is no real, control over this. It always feels like you just kind of get what you get with this one. There's no strategy. And it doesn't seem to matter which side of the little line that I hit the ball with. It just kind of goes off in its own direction. It's very hard to do anything with any kind of willful direction. But I've gotten, I suppose, what you could call a couple of baskets there. I'll try and bring it closer, and nope. See if I can bring it closer, and nope, a little too, blew that one entirely. But yeah, that is, to me, the low point of this one, basketball. Anyway, let's move on to Breakaway, so a kind of a simplified version of Breakout. And this starts very, very slowly, but let's see if I can at least get us up to where the pace picks up a bit. But that might take me a while, so might have to do a little editing with this one. There we go. Picked up already, and I'm losing terribly already. But that's okay. I've had a couple of near wins with both this and Breakout, but I've never quite pulled it off. And I don't foresee that changing. I've had some times where I've been able to get down to the last just one or two bricks, if you will, but I've never been able to quite win. The last time I had a win with Breakout was on the 2600 as a probably a preteen. The 2600 I got at a garage sale when I was in the 5th grade. So I was that weird kid in 1997, just out of elementary school, going into middle school, playing an Atari 2600. But I didn't mind it. I actually really liked the thing. I've still got it. There we go. And here's where I start getting stupid. All right, one left, one brick to go. Will I actually have a win for the first time in my life on this particular console? Or will this just be a big glorified loss? Something tells me it's going to just miss it. Yeah. Let's see if I can pull this off. Come on. Oh my God. You've just witnessed history. There's no win screen? Nothing? I finally get a win and I get nothing for it? Yeah, that would be kind of on brand for me, wouldn't it? Whatever. I won. That never happens. So, yeah. Let's jump to one of my old favorite games, Breakout. This is the last one. Jamaican edition, apparently, judging from the colors. All right. And, of course, it always gets off to kind of a slow start. I don't know, maybe should I splice in the old commercial for Breakout or Super Breakout with Don Knotts being supposedly stuck in jail?
You can't keep me in here, Atari. The Atari video computer system is 20 cartridges with 1,300 game variations you play on your own TV set. Don't just watch television tonight. Play it.
All right, last one. I obviously haven't fared quite as well with this as I did Breakaway, but I think I've kind of made my point. We'll just see how far I can get here. Again, there's no windscreen apparently, so not so much as a U1, nothing. No, the background doesn't change colors, nothing. So does it really matter? I got what looks like some 3-year-old's little Lego sculpture there. I guess that works. Anyway, jokes aside, I actually really do like this. I would call this the pinnacle of the Pong consoles. So yeah, good and responsive. The feel of the machine is good and robust. Everything works nicely. I like it, and dare I say, it's aged pretty well. I feel like simple video games, just kind of, time wasters and stuff, where there's not a plot involved and that sort of thing. Yeah, I can't really say boo to this one. So with that, I'll end it here. I'll shut up for the day. I'll talk to you again soon.
The amazing Triple Arcade from Fisher-Price. Assembly required.